Welcome, team. It is fantastic to have you all here. Now, as your safety trainer, I want to kick off this explainer with a very simple but incredibly powerful truth. Working safe literally means we all get to go home to our families at the end of the shift. That's what this is all about. So today, we're focusing on part 1 of Module 11, which is all about workplace good housekeeping. And listen, I want you to completely clear your mind of the idea that this is just about keeping things looking neat. It is absolutely not. It is the absolute foundation of a safe Malaysian workplace. So whether you're an operator right there on the factory floor, a site worker handling heavy materials, an engineer overseeing operations, or a supervisor managing the whole team, this applies directly to you and your daily routine.
Okay, let's dive right into this. I want to hit you with a pretty stark reality from Dash Malaysia right off the bat. Poor housekeeping isn't just some minor annoyance, It's officially identified as a root cause factor in over 40% of workplace accidents across the country. Just think about that for a second. That means nearly half of all the incidents, that end up causing injuries, painful downtime, or even worse, literally start with a disorganized, messy environment. It's entirely preventable, yet it's behind almost half of our accidents.
So here is our roadmap for today's explainer. First, the hidden danger. Then, more than cleaning. Next, the 5S system, followed by 5S in action, and finally, fire and legal duty.
Let's jump straight into Section 1, the hidden danger.
We need to completely shatter this illusion that workplace clutter is harmless. As we just mentioned, Dash attributes 40% of workplace accidents to poor housekeeping. But look at the flip side. NIOSH Malaysia studies show that workplaces that actually implement a structured housekeeping system see an average 30% reduction in accidents in just their first year. I mean, that is a massive drop in injuries just by getting the floor organized. And even more alarming is this statistic from Bomba, Malaysia. 60% of workplace fires are fueled by accumulated waste and clutter. The evidence is simply undeniable. A messy workplace is a deadly workplace, while an organized one truly saves lives.
All right, moving on to Section 2, more than cleaning.
This brings us to a super common misconception that we've got to clear up right now. When you hear housekeeping, you probably picture handing someone a broom and a dustpan, right? But in our industrial environment, it is so much more than that. Workplace housekeeping is defined as the systematic organization, maintenance, and management of our entire work environment. It includes rigorous floor and aisle maintenance, managing exactly how and where we store materials, taking proper care of our tools, and even making sure our lighting and ventilation systems are working right. When we manage all of this systematically, work gets done safely and efficiently. Honestly, think about it. When your tools are exactly where you left them, the lighting is good, and your walkways are clear, your job is just plain easier.
Because when we fail to manage our environment, the hazards multiply instantly. Poor housekeeping is the primary cause of slips, trips, and falls, which is the absolute most common accident type in Malaysia. A spill left on the floor, instant slip hazard. Cables in a walkway, a trip hazard that could cause a serious fracture. And it gets way more severe with chemicals. When a label falls off a container or incompatible chemicals are stored next to each other because it's messy, we are creating massive chemical poisoning risks. And we definitely can't forget biological hazards. In food processing or restaurant environments, poor waste management leads straight to pest infestations. Rats and insects aren't just gross hygiene issues, they are severe occupational safety hazards that put both workers and consumers at massive risk.
Which brings us to Section 3, the 5S system. So how do we actually fix this systematically? We use the 5S system. Now, sure, this started in Japanese manufacturing, but it is deeply embedded here now. It's a life-saving standard used every single day across Malaysian industries. Let's look at the Bahasa Malaysia adaptations we see on the factory floor. First is sort, or sisi, removing what you absolutely don't need. Next is set in order, or susun, finding a specific place for everything. Then comes shine, or sapu, cleaning and rigorously inspecting the area. Fourth is standardize, or seragam, creating written standards to lock in those first 3 steps. And finally, sustain, or sentiasa, making these practices a permanent daily habit.
Let's talk about how to practically apply that first step, sisi, or sort. It's totally human nature to hoard items just in case, right? Broken tools, old stock, paperwork from 3 years ago. The red tag method stops this dead in its tracks. If you aren't sure if an item is needed, just slap a red tag on it. If 30 days go by and literally no one has touched it, it gets removed from the area. This kind of discipline clears our walkways, opens up emergency routes, and gets rid of hidden hazards permanently.
All right, let's get into Section 4, 5S in action.
It's easy to talk theory, but let's look at the real world. Let's see how transformative this actually is in a real factory setting right here in Malaysia. Look at the before 5S side, a totally chaotic floor, cables stretching across paths where forklifts are driving, tools are missing right when you need them, and spills are just ignored. It's a total disaster waiting to happen. Now, look at the after 5S side, our susun or set-in-order environment. We've got clear yellow walkway lines that no equipment can cross. We have shadow boards where the exact shape of a tool is outlined so you instantly know if something is missing. Bins are clearly labeled in English and Bahasa Malaysia. It's organized, highly efficient, and incredibly safe.
And hey, if you were wondering if this actually yields real results, just look at Top Glove Corporation in Shah Alam. They implemented 5S across all their massive factories. And by strictly adhering to these principles, they reported a staggering 28% reduction in production accidents alongside a 15% improvement in efficiency. This proves once and for all that 5S absolutely does not slow down production with annoying rules. It protects workers and actually boosts our output.
Proton Holdings up in Tanjung Malin takes it even a step further to ensure Seragam and Sentiasa standardize and sustain. They don't just wait for management to clean the floor. Individual workers take full ownership of their own 5S stations. Through weekly audits, every single operator is held accountable for their specific space. It becomes this awesome shared culture of excellence on the line, rather than just a frantic chore you do right before a major safety inspection.
Finally, let's look at Section 5, Fire and Legal Duty.
I want to shift to a slightly more serious tone now. Beyond efficiency and minor injuries, we have to talk about catastrophic fire risks and our strict legal duties in Malaysia. Think about your own workstation for a second. Picture it. What do you think is the most common fuel for workplace fires? Any guesses?
The answer is literally everyday waste. Cardboard, paper, packaging materials, these are the primary fuel sources in factory fires. If we don't clear them out, we are literally providing fuel for the fire triangle. Add in oily rags, which can actually spontaneously combust if they aren't stored in sealed metal containers, and you have a severe, immediate hazard. Plus, poor housekeeping often leads to blocked fire exits and obstructed fire extinguishers. This isn't just dangerous, it completely prevents emergency response, and is a direct violation of BAMA Malaysia regulations under the Fire Services Act 1988.
And speaking of the law, the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1994, Section 15, is incredibly clear on this. Employers have a strict general duty to maintain the workplace in a condition that is safe and without risk to health. Maintaining a clean, organized environment is an absolute legal mandate under Malaysian law. It is not just a polite suggestion. And for those of you in food processing, remember that pest infestations caused by poor housekeeping are also severe violations under the Food Act 1983. When we fail at housekeeping, we are breaking the law on multiple fronts.
So, the crucial point I want to leave you with is this. That final step of 5S, sustain or sentiasa, isn't just some corporate buzzword on a safety poster. It connects directly to our own deep cultural values of gotong royong and tolong menolong, right? It's about communal cooperation. We keep our areas clean and we keep hazards clear because we are actively looking out for each other. We are helping one another get through the shift safely, side by side.
The 5S system is a practical, proven solution that directly saves lives in Malaysian workplaces. But it only works if every single one of us checks in, from the site worker to the manager. So, knowing that a clean workspace is exactly what ensures we all make it home to our families today. Are you ready to take full responsibility for your area as we dive into specific high-risk zones in Part 2? I'll see you in the next Explainer.
Welcome back to The Explainer. If you hung out with us for Part 1, you already know the background and the context of our safety modules. So let's just get right back to work and jump directly into the practical side of workplace good housekeeping. Today, we are focusing strictly on the hands-on everyday application specifically tailored for Malaysian workplaces. Because here is our golden rule for today. Good housekeeping is every single worker's responsibility. It's definitely not just a job for the cleaning crew at the end of the shift. Honestly, if you work in the facility, you own the safety of your space, period. All right, let's kick things off with Section 1, your daily housekeeping duties. To make that ownership a reality, let's talk about your daily habits. First up, clean as you go. Clean up spills or sawdust immediately. Never ever wait for the end of your shift. Tools, they need to be returned to their designated spot right away so they don't turn into trip hazards. If you notice a flickering light or a leaking pipe, report it instantly. Don't just assume someone else already has. Keep your walkways entirely clear. Maintain a solid 1-meter clear zone around all fire equipment. Make sure you properly separate waste. And hey, if you ever transfer a chemical to a smaller container, you have to label that new container immediately. Never leave it unlabeled. Moving right along to Section 2, high-risk areas and monsoons. Let's shift our focus outward to the hotspots where things go wrong the most. Loading docks are a massive one. All that cardboard, pallet wrap, and strapping, they become dangerous fire, fuel, and trip hazards incredibly fast, so waste must be cleared within 30 minutes of a delivery. Then we have electrical rooms, which are frequently and illegally used for informal storage. Dust in there acts as a conductor, risking catastrophic electrical fires. They must never be used for storage. Finally, chemical storage areas often fail simply because of one unlabeled container or unclean secondary containment bunding. And here is a super specific and honestly pretty terrifying hazard for Malaysian construction sites. Unorganized timber and formwork stored directly on the ground doesn't just look messy, it literally becomes a 5-star hotel for dangerous wildlife. We are talking about inviting snakes, scorpions, and rats right into your workspace. Definitely not what you want. Then, of course, we have to deal with the monsoon season. Depending on whether you're on the peninsula or over in Sabah and Sarawak, heavy rains hit from October right through March. The hazards here multiply so quickly. Our famous red laterite clay becomes incredibly slippery, and standing water in blocked drains or basement excavations brings a very real, very dangerous risk of leptospirosis. So, what is our heightened monsoon game plan? Well, we must clear all drainage channels before the heavy rains even start. We need to install non-slip temporary walkways, think rubber-backed mats or textured aluminum planks. We have to bump up our cleaning frequency to twice daily. And absolutely crucial, cover all materials with tarpaulins, because wet materials aren't just messy, they become drastically heavier and far more dangerous to handle. Which brings us to Section 3, Waste and Visual Management. When it comes to handling materials, we have to starkly contrast two completely different types of waste. On one side, we have everyday general waste, managed under Malaysia's 3R program, reduce, reuse, recycle. But on the other side, we have scheduled waste. This is strictly regulated chemical waste, things like used solvents, contaminated rags, and chemical cartridges, all governed under the Environmental Quality Regulations 2005. You absolutely cannot mix these two. Why is it so strictly regulated? Let me hit you with a massive number, 500,000 ringgit. Under the Environmental Quality Act 1974, mixing or illegally disposing of scheduled waste carries a penalty of up to 500,000 ringgit. That staggering fine shows exactly how seriously the Department of Environment takes chemical waste segregation. Now, for our everyday 3R program, visual management is key. You need to know exactly where to throw your everyday rubbish without even thinking about it. Blue bins are strictly for paper and cardboard. Green bins handle your glass and plastics. Orange is for cans and metals. And the black bin? That's for your general, non-recyclable waste. Beyond just the bins, visual management makes our safety standards immediately obvious to everyone, even if it's their very first day on site. We use universal floor marking colors to communicate. Yellow outlines our pedestrian walkways and storage borders. Red screams danger and highlights fire equipment access. Green is always for emergency equipment and exits. White handles general area demarcation, and blue marks our information and PPE stations. Another brilliant visual tool is the shadow board. A shadow board visually displays the exact shape and position of every single tool. If a tool is missing, that empty shadow makes the gap instantly obvious to anyone walking by. Having clear signage on these boards in both Bahasa Malaysia and English prevents dangerous mix-ups and effectively kills that bad habit of leaving a tool on a bench just this once. All right, let's dive into Section 4, Sustaining Our Safety Culture. So how do we actually sustain these habits long-term? Because that's the hardest part, right? Well, research shows what works best in our culture. First, positive reinforcement works so much better than punishment. Recognizing monthly 5S champions or giving out small rewards really goes a long way. We also rely on regular audits with highly visible scores, induction training for all new workers, and cross-departmental inspections to get some fresh eyes on our spaces. But the absolute most important factor? Management leadership. Listen, if the managing director's office is a messy disaster, workers simply will not take the rules seriously either. Culture always starts at the top. Almost at the finish line. Section 5, Assessment and Safety Closing. Let's review a few sample questions so you know exactly what to expect on your mandatory assessment. First up, what does SAPU mean in the 5S system?
Well, sapu translates to shine, but it goes way beyond just sweeping up. It means inspecting while you clean. It's about looking closely to catch hazards, like a slightly leaking pipe or a damaged floor tile, early, way before they cause an actual accident.
Question 2, how do we handle the monsoon? Let's quickly recap. The monsoon means mud, slippery laterite clay, and dangerous standing water. Your required response? Clear those drainage channels, lay down non-slip temporary walkways, and immediately double your daily cleaning routine. And question 3, what is the law regarding scheduled waste? Remember, it absolutely must be segregated, stored in clearly labeled, compatible containers within a designated area, and it can only be collected by a DOE licensed contractor using a proper manifest system. No exceptions. So, moving forward, you need to understand the assessment rules required under OSHA 1994. You're going to face 10 multiple-choice questions. If you happen to score below 70%, you will need to review the module and resit the assessment on a totally separate day. And remember, all of your results are permanently recorded in your personal OSH training file. I just want to emphasize this number one more time, 70%. That is your target. You must get at least 7 out of the 10 questions correct to pass this module and return to your duties safely. You've got this. Before we completely wrap up, I want to connect all these rules to something much deeper. Cleanliness has profound cultural roots here in Malaysia. We take incredible pride in keeping our homes clean, right? And we maintain absolutely immaculate standards in our sarau and places of worship. Bringing that exact same cultural pride into your workplace is what makes it a safe, efficient, and productive environment for everyone. Because at the end of the day, a clean workplace is a safe workplace. And a safe workplace is a productive workplace. Tempat kerja bersih, tempat kerja selamat. Work safe, stay safe, protect each other. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I want to leave you with one final thought. When you walk into your workspace tomorrow morning, what is the very first hazard you are going to fix?